Today we're going to talk about the 1978 classic, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Obviously this has gone down in infamy, a bit of a cult classic. It is a movie that is based on the title, and more specifically on the Japanese 1950 monster movies, even more specifically on Matango or Attack of the Mushroom People. This movie recently made its Blu-ray review thanks to MVD in their Rewind collection. Now, originally this came with a slipcover with, fake stickers on it. That's part of the whole, VHS style Blu-ray slipcovers thing that's going on now. That was for the initial run of these. Those are now sold out. I did not buy this in time to get one of those amazing slipcovers. Now, the reason I didn't buy this right when it came out is that I buy so many movies that if I were to buy everything on release day at full MSRP, I would quickly be out of house and home. And quite frankly, there's a lot of those movies I don't really get to watch for a little while. Sometimes movies can sit on the to-watch shelf for quite literally years. So, this movie, of course, not quite that extreme. I got it on Black Friday. It was $8.99. I felt like that was a great price. So I finally picked it up, even though I didn't get that cool VHS-inspired slipcover. So now, I've mentioned this before, but another one of the ways that I try to save money in my collection is just buying every other release. So this is actually an upgrade for me for the 1995 VHS. And it looks amazing. It's got a ton of special features. I was really happy with the upgrade here. Hands down, at that point in time, I would have been like, yeah, this is the version to buy, go get it. But as I've been doing research on this movie for this video, I have found out that there is a Star Wars level of post-release edits to this film. I went back, I picked up the special collector's version, I picked up the original theatrical VHS, just to compare everything, and here's what I found. Excluding Betamax and Laserdisc, these are the four main releases of this film over the years. Now, this black VHS one in the middle, there's also a 25th anniversary version that has no special features. So make sure when you're getting that one, if you get that one, you want to get the special collector's edition version. Now, as you can see, the theatrical VHS that came out, I think 82, comes in at 87 minutes. This exclusive director's cut that came out in the 90s, 94, comes in at 100 minutes, reportedly. And our DVD and Blu-ray cut of the film runs in at 83 minutes. So, obviously, just looking at those numbers, this has got to be the way to go, right? It's at 100 minutes. Here's a zoom in of the back of the case. 100 juicy minutes. Also, look at color there. Mostly red. Not rated, but definitely extra fancy. I love that little touch on the back of this case here. But there's one thing about this version is that it doesn't actually come in at 100 minutes. That is a lie. As I was doing the math of scenes in and scenes out of these movies, I realized that there was no way that this could possibly clock in at 100 minutes. So I timed it. And in fact, it comes in at a little under 91 minutes. So a bit of a lie there with the 100-minute mark. Now, if you counted the previews for completely non-related movies in front of the movie, it would come in 100 minutes, but why would you ever do that? Unless you were trying to convince people that your special director's version was extra special? Extra fancy, as it were? Alright, so even at 91 minutes, this one still runs longer than any of the other movies. But that's not all movie. There's actually like this retrospective legacy intro that starts the movie out. There are several director interruptions throughout the movie. This one right here is my favorite.
Thank you, sir.
Fluid style.
Thank you, sir.
Sharp mind.
Thank you, sir.
A nice ass.
Thanks.
Whoa, we said that kind of stuff in the 70s.
I'm about to give you a challenge. Your first big assignment.
And additional credits at the end for this director's cut. That makes up a good chunk of the perceived additional length of this movie. This movie, were you to strip all that out, is actually the shortest one at 82 minutes. So it holds the unusual distinction of being both the shortest and the longest of all the releases. So as I said earlier, this is the one I grew up on. And when I saw the Blu-ray, there was a whole additional song in it. And I was like, what the heck? I've never heard this Mind Maker song. I literally had never heard it my entire life until about a week ago.
We sell cars and toys for girls and boys and chairs and beds and shrunken heads.
And that song is in every other version of the movie except for this one. So that's when I started researching what was in, what was out throughout all these movies. You know, so up until the mid-90s release, this was the only version available. The theatrical version of the film, again, 87 minutes. It runs 5 minutes longer than this one, actual movie-wise. And that's 5 minutes of the movie they cut out to get this going. It's actually 6 minutes of the movie they cut out, but they added a 1 minute scene in here, so it's actually 5 minutes. So they cut 6 minutes out of this, put 1 minute back in, so there's a 5 minute difference in actual runtime of these movies. You know, there are scenes like Mason Dixon driving up to the military base that are still in there. The main bad guy, there are several scenes with him that are dramatically shortened for the 90s release. And there's the one infamous scene that everybody talks about on the internet as being the one main cut scene from the Blu-ray. And they say it's a really short segment with Fairchild getting yelled at. It's a minute long. I wouldn't call that a short segment. That's a scene, and I'm going to show that one in its entirety right now.
I don't know what to say, Fairchild. I do not know what to say. I have never in 30 years had a reporter arrested for indecent exposure.
But you told me...
I told you to use every means at your disposal to get the story. You didn't get the story. You are the story. Undercover reporter uncovered. Stringer streaker jailed. Tomato chases tomato. Get canned.
I'm sorry. Please, if you give me one more chance, I promise.
What choice have I got? There's no one else here. Oh, go on. Get out of here.
Thank you, sir. You won't regret this.
Fairchild? You're not going outside in that blanket, are you?
Oh, right.
Fairchild.
I really liked the inclusion of that in the film. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition where you just jump from Lois running down the hallway screaming to her at the stadium at the end. So this is one more scene that keeps her in the movie, keeps her in your brain as a player in the film. You know, that scene I just showed, not available in any other release of the film or as a special feature in any release of the film after the 82 VHS. And as I said before, that's just 1 minute of the cut 6 minutes. None of those 6 minutes are in any of the other 3 versions. You know, and for the most part, they're not terrible cuts. They make the movie a faster, more efficient, dare I say better movie, but I would actually say that, you know, making Killer Tomatoes a better movie makes it a little bit of a worse movie. Because the whole point of Killer Tomatoes is it's supposed to be a bad movie. And those missing scenes are not the only thing that's changed for the 90s director's cut. They also changed the audio in several segments throughout the movie. They insert different sound effects.
I've gotten the wrong number. I'd like my dime back. I've gotten the wrong number. I'd like my dime back.
There's different ADR lines that happen.
If you're feeling sad and blue, tomatoes end it all for you.
If you're feeling sad and blue, tomatoes end it all for you.
So there's one scene in this that is not in the theatrical version, and I'm going to play that for you now. I'm going to play it with the director intro, and remember, this was just in the middle of the film. He just pops in the middle of the film to say this.
This is part of the restored director's cut version. We couldn't find the lost American scene. Well, we found this in an old Babusuland version of the film, and we put it in. That's how come it's spoken in Babusulese.
Atin bom. Tubishkataka Ushantika. Schmidt. Schemsium Pangis incognito ingao. Steven Ushakata to the Anatola. Ego the Gata.
That's not actually the director, by the way, that's the writer. And that scene is actually dumped from the 2 versions that would come after. That scene's not in the DVD or the Blu-ray. It is there as a special feature though. And just as an aside, growing up watching this, I totally believed that that was a real place. I thought that he was being 100% honest when they were saying they found that version of the picture. And that was just a total lie. And on the commentary for that deleted scene in the Blu-ray and the DVD, they continue that lie and pretend like they found that shot.
This scene was deleted from the original 1978 version. When it came time to restore it, we could only find this version in Babusulese with English subtitles. Actually, it's funnier in Babusulese.
It's just like them doing fake Asian language. It's a running joke that I've thought was true my whole life that I just got yesterday. Alright, so that brings us up to the DVD release of the film. Again, a different cut. This loses the foreign language joke shot. It gains the Mind Maker scene back.
We sell cars and toys for girls and boys and chairs and beds and shrunken heads.
And this version actually has the most comprehensive set of special features in all of the releases. Now, it doesn't have all the stuff from the VHS director's cut. There's a few extra things in there that aren't on this version, but as far as special features go, this one is the way to go. Additionally, if you're going to pick one of these up, you want to get one that comes with the soundtrack. That was a Best Buy exclusive. They are just straight recorded off the movie. You're not getting the full version of Puberty Love here. It's just MP3s made from the movie as the soundtrack. So, and finally, that brings us to the Blu-ray. Same cut of the film as the DVD. Obviously, the new 4K transfer is just amazingly better looking. Here, let me throw up a couple scenes side by side so you can take a look.
Lois! Mason!
The network that brings you the news as it happens, brings you these bulletins in times of emergency. The news you need to know when you need to know it on NBS.
As I mentioned before, lots of special features. No new special features though. All of these special features are on the special edition DVD release that came out in 2003. In fact, this doesn't even port all of the special features over from the DVD release. It is missing several still galleries from that release. Additionally, it's missing Tomato Trivia and the best special feature, which is Tomato Mode, which is a feature in the original release where little icons would pop up on the screen and you could click on them and it would take you to a special segment. And most of the segments that it took you to, not included on this release, including segments where John Astin, the scientist from the sequels, trashes the movie in the middle of the movie.
We're well into this film, and you haven't seen my character yet. Well, guess what? You're not going to see it. I'm not in the film.
Which for me is kind of a killer feature, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't port those over. You know, great commentary on the Blu-ray and the DVD. It's got the writer, director, and the hero. A lot of great takeaways from that. How to make really nice looking tomatoes that squish really good. Boil them. One of the lines I really loved, I wrote it down, I loved it so much. Implied violence is both kinder to the audience and less expensive. And there's one more thing I thought I'd mention from this release. I'm going to zoom in on the back here. As you can see, it says Easter eggs. And unfortunately, that is not true. I dumped every single bit of data off this disc. I combed through it. There are no additional segments over what's listed on the back of the disc. There are no Easter eggs. So that kind of left a little bit of a sour note in my mouth that I'm being lied to by my DVD case. There actually are Easter eggs on the DVD version. One with Lloyd Kaufman, one with the San Diego chicken. So, you know, it hurts just a little bit more when I'm looking for Easter eggs on my new Blu-ray. It says on the case there's Easter eggs, and no, there's not. You know, and aside from those phantom Easter eggs, this even has the wrong runtime on the back of the box. It says 87 minutes, which is the theatrical runtime, even though this is the 83-minute director's cut. Which at this point kind of makes you wonder a little bit about the quality control at MVD. But again, this is only their second release title on their Rewind collection, so maybe that does get better over time. And really, it looks great. The DVD does come with a nice little mini poster here. It doesn't quite stack up to the poster that came With the DVD though, a little bit of a better quality print. It's matte as opposed to glossy. It feels retro, like in your hand. I think I like this version a little bit better. And oh my god, am I done talking about the Killer Tomatoes finally? I think I am. A definitive release of the film? Not exactly. Probably, it is of course the best looking one. It's an amazing to look at. It looked great on your HD TV. If you're a crazy Killer Tomatoes fan and you want the special features, you're gonna have to pick up the special edition Blu-ray that happened years ago. And if you're a purist, you're gonna wanna get the original theatrical version on the 82 VHS. If you want a hosted version, you know, you gotta get this VHS. This is the best available hosted version. Now, Elvira did do a movie macabre on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, obviously using the original theatrical cut that I would love to have. That would be a fantastic feature. Obviously, the new Blu-ray was scanned into 4K, which means eventually there's going to be a 4K release of this. I would love as a special feature on the 4K disc to have the theatrical version with the movie macabre, Elvira segments edited into it, and all of the DVD extras restored. That would be a definitive version of the film in my book. You know, and the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to do like a fan supercut of Killer Tomatoes. Am I a weirdo? Is that the weirdest thing I've ever said? No. You're watching this. You're weird too. A fan supercut where you take, you know, the amazing transfer from the Blu-ray, add back everything that's been cut off the VHS, add back in those hosting segments from the 90s VHS, add in the deleted scenes, add the John Astin making fun of it, add in the Elvira aspect, bump you up to your 111-minute roadshow version of the film. And I guess that about wraps it up on the Killer Tomatoes. Just buy all 4 versions, I guess. That'll be my recommendation. Just buy them all. Obviously, if you're not a psychotic, probably the Blu-ray is the way to go. If you want it maybe as more of a bad movie feature, maybe pick up one of the original 80s VHS tapes. And hey, if you've made it this far, let's go ahead and just talk about the rest of the Tomatoverse, right? So there was 2 80s video games based on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. One a little more unofficial than the other. The unofficial one was for the Atari 2600, Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes. And there was one for the Sinclair Spectrum just titled Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Those came out in 83 and 86 respectively. Now after that, of course, we get the 1988 film Return of the Killer Tomatoes. If you've been collecting DVDs for any length of time, you've seen this in one of its iterations. It's been available as a pack-in title on tons and tons of things. I originally did not like this version. I didn't like that it wasn't straight up tomatoes, or that it wasn't tomatoes with faces. In this version of the film, you got tomatoes that turn into people, tomato people. And me as a kid, I hated it. It sucked. I liked the first one, and I liked 3 and 4. I don't know if I liked 3 as a kid, I hope I didn't. But over the years, this one has become my favorite of the 4 tomato movies. You know, it runs the line between breaking the 4th wall and actually being funny. It's got that girl who was only in one other cult movie and then in nothing else ever again. You remember her from Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. It has this amazing soundtrack. I love the tomato-based parody of the Axel F theme. It's just all around an amazing movie. My appreciation has grown to it over the years, where I would consider this one of the best parodies of all time. You know, and that's where that's at. I never really thought we would get a special edition of this. Maybe it would be in a Blu-ray case as like a bare bones feature. But fortunately, Arrow released The Return of the Killer Tomatoes on Blu-ray. It's got a great assortment of special features. The director is back for an audio commentary. It's moderated by, you know, Red Shirt Productions. You've seen their special features before, and they've all been amazing. And throughout the commentary, he even gets them to talk about things like the cartoon and, you know, the 2 sequels, you know, which we probably never will get special features on. Additionally, the main actor in the film has an extended interview where he talks about the filming, you know, going out clubbing with George Clooney, all sorts of fun stuff. Nothing quite as comprehensive as is available on the first movie, but Still, I really appreciate the special features that are on this. As a title, I never thought we'd get special features, so thank you, Arrow. Great release. And after that, of course, you have the children's cartoon series. I never saw this as a kid. I always wanted to. I had one of the 2 video games. There's 2 video games based on the cartoon series. There's one where you play as the kid from the cartoon series on the NES, and the one I had was the one where you play as, Finletter on the Game Boy. It was not a very good game, but I played it a lot, and I really wanted to see that cartoon series. Never did. And that rolls us into the 3rd movie of the Killer Tomatoes quadrilogy, Killer Tomatoes Strike Back. This one is probably the worst of the whole set. And the reason behind that being is the lead actor is trying to play it for laughs. He's not being serious. You don't like him. He's just kind of a jerk the entire movie.
Hey, that's my wife. No, hey, kid line's over there. Get out. Oh, hey, oh, Herb. I have reservations.
You hate him. You hate the main actor in this movie. He just annoys you the whole film. There's a couple of things that are fun about this film. I like the little hockey mask tomato. This is the movie where they finally got faces on the tomatoes. They were all the same, but, they're going in the right direction, or the wrong direction, depending on your point of view. And it does have a couple bits of interesting original music. And I actually really liked the end credit sequence, where the good guys and bad guys are in their locker rooms after the game and they're doing this post-movie interview about what happened in the movie. That was really fun. I wish the entire movie had the charm as those last few minutes of mid-credit interviews. And I forgot to mention, this is kind of out of print. You can get it in a 2-pack with the Tomatoes Eat France, or you can get it as a part of a 3-pack with 2 other movies, but you almost don't even need to. You might even think about skipping this one. Killer Tomatoes Eat France, this one has never been released except for the 2-pack with the Strike Back, and in this version here. It's probably the hardest of the Tomato movies to get. Neither of these 2 have special features, it's the movie only. The Tomatoes kind of get their groove back with this one. There is a lot coming from the cartoon, obviously. There's specific characters that I think I might have seen cartoon images of that are in this movie. There's a lead actor who you actually like again, who pretends to be Michael J. Fox to get laid in his backpack trip through Europe.
I love American movies. Which one are you?
Michael J. Fox. Hi.
It's just a really fun, goofy continuation of the 1988 movie. It is a little more skewed towards kids, but I actually really enjoyed this one. Highly worth getting the Killer Tomatoes Eat France if you liked any of the other Killer Tomato movies. And is that it? No. Not quite. So there is a remake reboot situation. They tried to do it in 2008. It failed. They, I think, have done it this time. There was reports that they'd started filming mid last year of the Killer Tomatoes, remake reboot. So by this time, obviously, it's either gone up in flames or they've got it all in the can and they're just editing it. And pretty soon we'll get our 2021 Killer Tomatoes movie. When that happens, I will of course be picking it up because I'm obviously the target audience here, right? And I think that about wraps it up. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.